I just got the new LEGO Formula 1 Speed Champion car, and I'm gonna build it and compare it to the older Mercedes one. I opened up the box, and inside I saw a manual with the new white background LEGO's been using, a very large sticker sheet with 32 stickers, a car base plate, and 3 bags which had an average of 82 pieces per bag. I was a bit surprised as LEGO doesn't usually make bags this small, but nonetheless I opened up bag 1 and started building. After I finished building bag 1, the car only had a bit of a base built up with no standout features except for this really cool new F1 steering wheel piece. This piece was much cooler than the blank one that the Mercedes had, as it had a whole bunch of cool printing all over it. And after I finished building bag 2, the car only had a bit more, including a super cool front wing and a bit more of the body. Bag 2 also added the axles that the wheels would later sit on. Once I finished building bag 3, the set was all done. I think that this set turned out super cool, having many detailed parts from the actual car, including the rear wing, the halo which was made of a bendable pipe piece, the side panels which had all of the same advertisements as the real car, and the wheels, which even had the exact same hubcap as the real-life car. But now it's time to compare the two. The first thing I want to cover is the different wheels that the two cars have. The McLaren has tires that replicate what a very common medium tire would look like in a race. The tire also has a very similar texture to the one on the actual car, as it has an almost grainy texture, which is very similar. The Mercedes has very different wheels, as they replicate a more rare, wet tire, which is seldomly used in actual races, as it is usually unnecessary. The tire itself is much more rubbery than the McLaren's one, and also has a much different texture with grooves that run around the tire. Another difference between the two tires is which part of the wheel actually comes off. On the McLaren, only a bit of the wheel comes off, leaving a pretty similar wheel to what it was with the hubcap. But on the Mercedes, the whole front panel comes off, which leaves a very weird looking wheel without the hubcap. I'm going to give this point to McLaren. The second major difference between the two cars is the difference between the front and rear wings from both cars. The Mercedes front wing is a lot flatter and has a bit more of a box-like look, whereas on the McLaren, the front wing has a really nice curvature, making it look a lot smoother and sleeker than the Mercedes. The rear wing on the Mercedes is a bit too tall and skinny, making it look less realistic than it could have. On the other hand, McLaren has a wider and lower rear wing, making it look better than the one on the Mercedes. Because of this, I'm again going to give a point to McLaren. The third thing I want to compare between the cars is the main body. On the Mercedes, the sides have a very weird and choppy design that makes the car look a lot more box-like and makes the car's design sway from the look of the actual car. But on the McLaren, the sides are a lot smoother than the Mercedes, with all the curved pieces that are used on the sides of the car. In my opinion, the entire body of the McLaren blends a lot better than the one on the Mercedes, as the car has a lot less rough edges and angles, making it look a lot cleaner. This is definitely a third point for McLaren. The fourth thing that I want to compare between these two cars is the minifigures that they come with. The Mercedes driver has a very detailed torso and legs that have a lot more printing and detail than the McLaren driver has. The minifigures each also come with an alternate hairpiece for when you don't want the minifigures to be wearing a helmet. But speaking of helmets, the Mercedes one is pretty typical, a black helmet with a visor. But on the McLarens, there's a printing of the McLaren logo on the top of the helmet, which is something that I've never seen LEGO do before. For this, I'm going to give the point to Mercedes. One final thing that I want to compare is the price. The Mercedes comes in a 2-pack with another mediocre car that retails for $45 Canadian, and the new McLaren comes by itself for $35 Canadian. This clearly makes the Mercedes set a better value, but if you just want the F1 car, the McLaren is definitely a better alternative. I'm not going to hand out a point for this category, as both cars are very different. That ends the comparison with a clear winner going to the McLaren car. I definitely think that LEGO did a better job with the McLaren car than they did with the older Mercedes one. If you enjoyed this video, I would greatly appreciate if you hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.